This is the story of Queen Esther Part 3. If you missed the other two videos, go back and watch them because it's a really awesome story. It's so amazing that it should be made into a Hollywood production, I think. It's an epic story. So where we left off was Queen Esther had decided to risk her life and approach the king without being summoned and hope that he holds out his scepter and saves her life and allows her to talk with him and see him. And she wanted to plead for the lives of her people so that the Jews would not be destroyed. So she is very smart here. She doesn't just approach him and then just go straight for the kill. No, she uses her mind. She really thought about this. She hadn't been summoned to see him in 30 days. And so she wanted to fill out the situation. And so she did approach him, and he thankfully did hold out the scepter to her. She risked her life in doing so, but she was okay. And when he asked her what she wanted, and when she was in front of all these people watching, she just said that she wanted to invite him to a banquet. And how smart was that? Right? She made it so it's not just about me, and what do I want, which is probably what a king hears all the time from everybody. But instead, she wanted to remind him how much he meant to her and maybe soften him up a little bit because he was known to be pretty harsh at times. And so she threw this elaborate banquet for the king in honor of him. And that night, he asked her, "What is it that you want from me?" And she didn't feel the timing was right. For whatever reason, she just felt, no, I'm going to delay it one more time. So she told him, "I would like you to come to a second banquet tomorrow night." And he's thinking like, this is so weird. Why won't she just ask me for what she wants? But okay, I really enjoyed tonight. Let's do it again. Now, the fact that she didn't feel like, the timing was right probably did come from God, because that very night, King Ahasuerus couldn't sleep very well. And so he asked for them to start reading like recent things that happened in the empire, or fairly recent. And he was reminded about how Mordecai saved his life. That's that story we set on the shelf earlier. Mordecai saved King Ahasuerus' life because he discovered a plot from two officials that wanted to kill the king, assassinate him. And then he told Queen Esther, and then Queen Esther alerted the king to that news. And so he asked his officials, "What did we ever do to honor Mordecai for this?" And they looked into it and they said, "We actually didn't do anything. Just nothing ever happened." And he went on his merry way. And so King Ahasuerus felt really bad. He said, "Oh my goodness, this guy saved my life. We need to honor him." And so he calls Haman in before him, and he says, "Haman, what do you think we should do to honor somebody that really pleases the king?" And Haman is so full of himself, he thinks, "Oh, he's talking about me." So he comes up with this elaborate plan. "Oh, you should put this person on the king's horse, and you should parade him around and make sure that all the people know how valuable and honored this person is." And so then when he's done telling the king what he thinks should happen, the king says, "Okay, well, the man I want you to honor is Mordecai." And as you can imagine, Haman's mouth probably just drops to the floor because he hates Mordecai. And he was actually planning on hanging Mordecai on a stake, and of course killing all the Jews as well. And so he had made this super, super tall stake, like I feel like it was like 60 feet in the air, like a really ginormous stake that he had already erected, planning to kill Mordecai with. So Haman was super evil. And so then he had to be humbled. Not that he was sincerely humble, but he had to eat crow because he had to be the one to parade Mordecai around on the king's horse and in front of all these people that probably knew how much he hated Mordecai too. So that was awesome. But that one night of delaying the banquet and for another night and Esther not coming right out and telling the king what she wanted to tell him about Haman. That night was critical because that was the night that the king remembered Mordecai and what Mordecai did for him and how Esther actually tipped him off to that through Mordecai. So super important that that night happened. So now the next night they have their banquet again, and the king is very pleased and he's having a wonderful time, and he asks Queen Esther again, please tell me, what do you want? And what can I do for you? And so she set the stage beautifully. And then she just comes right out with it. And she points at Haman, who was also at the banquet. That wicked Haman wants to eliminate our people. And I need you to, please help us and also save me. And this is probably the first time that she told him that she was a Jew as well. Well, Haman was right there, and the king was so enraged that his highest person that he trusted would have had the audacity to try to hurt the queen. And he also had fresh in his mind that Mordecai was a Jew and had just saved his life recently, and he honored Mordecai. So all these things added up, and he believed Queen Esther, and he researched it and found out that Haman's plan was indeed to do that. Well, Haman had already told him that, but it all just kind of came together for him. And he found out that Haman had that huge stake to hang Mordecai on. And so King Ahasuerus said, hang Haman on that stake that he had erected for Mordecai. So, wow, what an ending there. Now, the Persian law that went out could not be redacted. So they were in a pickle. How are they going to save the Jews? Because you can't change the law at that time. Even King Ahasuerus couldn't change it. So he had Mordecai, who was like an official at the gate, but also did, I can't think of, secretarial work for the palace. He had Mordecai write up a new law that kind of canceled out the old law. The new law gave the rights to all the Jews in the entire Persian Empire to fight for their lives. And whereas before they were just going to be slaughtered. They didn't have the right to fight back, apparently. But now they had the right to fight back. And so that new law got ridden out by Pony Express all across the empire. And when that day came, they were able to fight back and they won. And Haman's wicked plot was squashed. And of course, we know that wicked people have behind them someone even more wicked, which is Satan. And Satan was wanting to do away with the Jews because Jesus Christ was in that lineage, and he was coming. And so what a way to stick it to God if you can just do away with the Jews before Jesus is born on earth. So anyways, the wicked never prevail. God always prevails. And what an epic story that is, and so many lessons for us to learn from. To one, be humble and meek, not let vanity get to our heads. Two, be courageous, be willing to do what is right, and follow God's will over our own, even in the face of our own life, and trust and act. So just wanted to share the story of Esther with those of you that have never read it. Highly recommend that you just go read it. It's only I want to say 10 chapters, and it really reads like a Hollywood production. So you're really going to enjoy it. Go read it. And yeah, I hope you do enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.